Boardroom is unmuted.
Okay, it's unmuted. Can we get started?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to call the finance meeting to order. Today's March 4th. I don't even know what time it is. I think we've been here for about 10 hours. So for those still awake and still alive, congrats on that. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the prior meeting?
I'll make such a motion. It's Peter, Doug.
Okay, thank you, Peter. Moved by Mr. McDevitt, second by Mr. Bruno. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. We're gonna have a little change in the agenda. Amanda mentioned to me that OES has an item that needs to be discussed, and it's number 8, I believe. It's gonna be number 8 on your agenda. So we're gonna discuss that first without objection. Amanda, could you fill us in on, because I saw the text you sent me, so could you fill me in, because I don't have it?
Yep, thank you for jumping ahead on that so I can take care of it before I have to leave for another meeting. So under number 8, those are the referrals from the Personnel Committee. So the one that's on there, item 6, that's a referral from the, to delete the majority. That did not pass Personnel, so that is a moot point now. It's not a referral to Finance. Unfortunately, on the Personnel agenda, there was the deletion of the OES County Fire Coordinator temporary position, and that was mistakenly left off of the Finance agenda. So I would ask that you approve that. It's just Finance approval of the deletion of that position, and then there is the matter of the tourism and occupancy tax position, the position for tourism, which they're creating.
Okay, so should we take up first the deletion of the temporary fire coordinator position? Is that correct, Amanda?
If you can, that's the one that was missing that I was worried would be overlooked.
Okay, do I have a motion to bring that to the floor?
I'll put the motion forward, Jack Diamond.
Thanks, Supervisor Diamond. Do I have a second?
I'll second it, Peter.
Thank you, Supervisor McDevitt. Is there any discussion on that? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, none. All right, thank you. And now let's get to the, now that we're on A, we might as well get right to the tourism, which was just passed along to us from Personnel concerning the additional new position, the salary of $61,855. And I guess that's contingent on a one-year temporary basis. Is that correct? Amanda, did they decide that would be a one-year temporary position based on whether there is a correct return on investment?
That's going to be subject to the incumbent in that position will do a report each April or May, depending on when that person takes the job. And that report to the Tourism Committee will be for the purpose of determining whether or not that person's activities covered their salary. And the decision on whether or not to continue that position will be made after that report.
Okay. Does anyone make a motion to bring this to the floor?
I will, Jack Diamond.
Thank you, Supervisor Diamond. Second by?
I'll second it, Peter.
Okay, we're on a roll with the Glens Falls men. Second by Mr. McDevitt. Any discussion on this? Yes, Mr. Bruno.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple things. Number one, somebody please reiterate or re-explain to me how the funding for this position is accomplished. I mean, at the uncertain economic times we're in, I'm a little concerned about adding a position, adding a salary, especially $61,000. And additionally, this person will be part of the tourism department. They're a sales and marketing person. And does the tourism department not do that currently?
Okay. Joanne, is Joanne there?
I am here, yes.
Okay, Joanne, would you like to answer Mr. Bruno's questions?
I do currently have a position in my department that is vacant. The amount of that salary is $42,200. There was discussion about using that amount toward this salary in this year. The responsibilities of this position are not things that we cover now. They're new. I'm just going to get the job description in front of me here. We really do need a regional tourism event strategy, and that would be the #1 goal, and everything that goes along with that. Occupancy tax guidelines have to be met by all of the events, work with the smaller towns, bringing new events to the county, working with the county administrator on safety protocols. There are many things that this position would cover that, no, we currently do not have the bandwidth to cover here within the department.
Does that answer your question, Mr. Bruno?
That answered one of them.
And
The
the
other
other
one
one
is
was,
how-
where was the funding?
Yeah. How is that accomplished? And I guess along with that, I'll add, we would have hopefully no problem eliminating this position, this expense, if it comes to pass that it's not really effective. I'm not saying it won't be, but who knows?
Mr. Chairman, I can take a stab at that question.
All right, thank you, Mr. Moore.
The funding source for the position is ultimately going to be the revenue generated by the activities of this position, because this position will be responsible for generating events, which put heads in beds and generate occupancy tax. In the meantime, from a cash perspective, 2020 revenue was better than we thought it would be towards the end of last year when we were doing projections in the context of the future of the spending plan. We were using a $4 million revenue projection. We're already year to date, and we're still collecting and still journaling revenue back to 2020, but we're already above 4.2 million, and we're so lucky for all of us that we did better from a cash flow perspective. We won't have a problem, and the treasurer's got his hand up.
Okay, Mr. Swan?
Thank you. You're going to have to designate a certain revenue source for the.
Can't hear him, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, you need to speak up, Mr. Swan.
Pardon me? Can you hear me
Could
now?
you speak up a little closer to the microphone?
Can you hear me now?
That's better.
Yes.
All right. You're going to have to designate a specific revenue source for the $19,000 difference. If it wants to be from the occupancy tax reserve, that's fine, but it has to be set before we can approve the position.
Thank you. So we're going to have to dedicate a funding source for the difference. Discussion on that.
My
Mr. Bruno?
suggestion would be to appropriate from the reserve. I'm sorry to step in front of somebody.
Okay. Mr. Morris suggested that we take it from the Tourism Reserve Fund, OCTAX Reserve Fund, Mr. Bruno, and then Mr. Conover.
So if I understand this, you take that money from there, would it be, and prior to this, you said that the position was going to pretty much pay for itself. In other words, a performance-based compensation, if you will, whatever. So would that money be returned to whatever fund it comes out of?
The reserve is generated by revenues being higher than expenses, so that would happen in the natural course of things. So in other words, the revenue that this position generates over the next 12, 13, 14 months is going to go into the reserve, and as long as it's not spent out, it'll replenish the initial reserve appropriation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Conover, did you have a comment?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, if I understand Ryan, I guess what I'm just wondering is what's the index on that? Are we indexing it on the COVID year, the year prior to the COVID year? I mean, what's the base that's to go more to Mr. Bruno's question, what's the base that's being set to determine whether the $20,000 is what we're saying is that no, we're really budgeting the 60 some odd thousand, and then whatever we get in revenue is put against that. Thank you.
I think what we're asking is when that individual does the report as to revenue that they've generated, you're going to see basically two categories of it. One is potentially going to be sponsorships that we don't currently get. That's been an idea to bring in more private sector sponsorships. And also the revenue that will be tied to certain events that position promoted. So we'll be able to get an idea from that as to what truly is new and what is not.
Okay, so Amanda, can you read the resolution? Or before I do that, Chairwoman Sieber, do you have a comment?
I just have a question as well about this. The additional sources of revenue, and Mike Swan, I know you can't indicate this when you have this position created, but it's my understanding that we are, while we're still in a state of emergency and while we're still dealing with COVID, that there is an opportunity for some of this salary to also be reimbursed through COVID expense-related submissions, due to the fact that one of the primary duties of the position as well is about event coordination, safety planning, responsive to COVID, but also making sure that Warren County is sending that message loud and clear that we are going to be safe, responsible, but ready for our tourism season to welcome, all visitors that want to come into our community and enjoy Warren County. So I would make the argument that I do think some of this initial investment could be reimbursed through our COVID-related grants as well. And again, a huge help to our county administrator and our public information officer with this position, hopefully, to be able to get it up and going as soon as possible in response to the reopening of our economic and tourism world. Did I get that correct, Ryan or Mike? That might be a possibility too.
Yes, it's an absolute possibility. We won't know until everything gets done, but yeah, and if that is the case, we can amend the budget to reflect that without a problem.
So, hearing all those, what does the motion actually say? Tammy, can you? I think Amanda left the room. Oh, you're still there, Amanda? Okay. What does the motion actually say?
I'm still here. I can read you the motion, but Mr. Diamond has a comment also.
Okay. Why don't we have Mr. Diamond's comment first, and then you can read the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to say, go on the record, that I think this position is long overdue. I think simply a lot of the smaller towns in Warren County do not have the resources to be able to get that creative to bring new events, more people, and sales tax to the communities. We have people that have had a lot of experience doing that, in the city of Glens Falls along with Warren County. I think bringing their expertise and knowledge just is going to help to create more events and more sales tax and occupancy tax to the counties that, the communities that are in need for that. So I think it's a great idea.
Okay, thank you. Amanda, you want to read us the motion?
So the motion you have is made by Mr. Diamond and seconded by Mr. McDevitt, and it's to approve the creation of the Tourism Development and Events Coordinator, which will be funded from the occupancy tax reserve.
Okay, is there any other discussion on this before I call the question? Okay, seeing and hearing none, there's no more, no supervisor from the boardroom has any additional questions?
Doesn't appear to me.
Okay.
Sorry, it's Mike
Mr. Wild.
Okay, Mr. Wild?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, I think, just to put it on the record, I think it's important that this person be recognized as having to coordinate their activities as well with the private sector. There's a hospitality group led by Mark Bean. Director Connolly is on that call. I just want to make sure that there's tight coordination between these groups so they aren't competing with each other to try to, pad their numbers to say, we did this and we did that. It's important that they work together. And I'm not trying to put that in, but I think it's important. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not so sure it needs to be in the motion, actually, but yes, I agree with that, Mr. Wild. And I'm sure, Joanne, you don't have any problem with that comment by Mr. Wild?
I do not. I agree.
Okay, I think we're all in agreement then. That was a good comment. Thank you, Mr. Wild. Okay, so hearing no other comments, I will call the question. All in favor of this motion, say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, carried. All right, now let's go to the top of the agenda. We're going to go to number 1. And this was brought to us by Mr. Moore, and I don't know if you noticed, but I've asked each department head and/or chairperson who is bringing a resolution to the finance committee to be here so that they can discuss the resolution that they want additional funding or funding for. Before I even start that, though, I always ask Mr. Swan if he'd like to say a few words. Now, Mike, you can wait till we get to yours, which is number 3 on the agenda, or you can give us just a few words of wisdom now. It's your choice.
I would rather wait, Mr. Chair.
Okay, very good. So let's look at number 2 on your agenda. It says request items to be discussed by the county administrator, Ryan Moore. Ryan, Mr. Moore, do you want to make any comments on this before I read it?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, but before you do, we need a motion and a second to approve the transfers.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the transfers?
I'll put this motion forward, Jack Diamond.
Thank you very much, Supervisor Diamond. Second by Mr. Supervisor Bruno. Any discussion on that? Okay, hearing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, the second item on that, Mr. Moore, is the request to appropriate funds in the amount of $228,320 from the vehicle reserve to various departmental budgets to cover vehicle purchases. Could you make a comment on that, please?
I could, but just to be clear, anybody have the piece we just passed was the budget transfers by resolution, and then there's the piece that I typically report on, and I don't know that anybody had any questions on those journal transfers. In other words, we just did item 1. Now we're on to item 2A.
Correct. I didn't think there was any questions. I thought I called to see if there was any questions. There were none.
Okay, moving on to 2B and 2C. These are the vehicle reserve appropriations that we do this time of year. Every year in the budget, we put in an appropriation towards the vehicle reserve of $392,000. These purchases, as you can see, total out to less than that. So we still do have a sum there to address any unforeseen vehicle needs as the year goes on. And the Part C just reflects some of these vehicles are for DSS, and DSS gets 75% reimbursement. So rather than take that 75% out of the vehicle reserve, we're going to amend the budget to appropriate the state aid.
Okay, do I have any questions? Okay, so we need a motion to request the appropriation and funds of the amount of $228,320. Okay, I already read it. Do we have a motion, Mr. Bruno, Supervisor Bruno, second by Supervisor Bramer? Do you have a question, Supervisor Bramer? Okay, discussion on this? Hearing and seeing none, I will call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, 2C, the request to amend the county budget for the Department of Social Services in the amount of $37,650 to reflect the receipt of an anticipated state aid for vehicle purchase. Mr. Moore, before we call for a motion, would you like to make any comments?
This would just be a straight budget amendment, expenses and revenues in the amount of $37,650.
Okay, very good. Okay, do we have a motion to bring this to the floor?
I'll move it, Doug. Peter.
Thank you, Supervisor McDevitt. Do I have a second? Supervisor Bruno. Okay, discussion? Seeing and hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you very much, Mr. Moore. Number 3 on your agenda is requests and items to be discussed by the county treasurer, Mr. Swan. So, Mr. Swan, go ahead. The floor is yours.
Thank you. This is a housekeeping measure. The city of Glens Falls has various pilot projects. They collect the money for us, then they give us our share. And this is, I need a resolution to allow us to accept this as revenue. The total amount is $52,978. We already have the money. I just need to have the resolution to back it up.
Okay. Do I have anybody to make a motion for this resolution? Bring it to the floor.
I'll second it.
Okay, that was the first person, was that Mr. Supervisor McDevitt?
My voice has gotten a little higher.
Yeah. I think you're a soprano now, Peter. You're gonna try out for that soprano glee club. So, okay, so we have the, motion moved by, was it Supervisor Bramer and second by Supervisor McDevitt? Is that what it was, Amanda?
No, Mr. Diamond was your second?
Okay, thank you. All right, so, discussion on this. Fairly simplistic. Okay, I will call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you very much, Mr. Swan. The next one is a referral from the Economic Growth and Development Committee. It's chaired by our illustrious Supervisor Hogan. Planning and Community Development Director, Mr. Lamont. This is going to be a request to appropriate funds in the amount of $1,484 from Budget Code A.691.11, deferred revenue town poster sales, to Budget Code A.8021.410, planning and community development supplies to cover the cost of printing 600 great posters.
Moved by Supervisor Bramer.
Okay, I was going to ask Ms. Supervisor Hogan if she wanted to make any comments first about this. Nope, nothing. It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, Sarah Frankenfeld is here to speak to it, so let's get it on the floor, please.
Okay, so Supervisor Bramer, you're going to bring it to the floor. Do I have a second?
I'll second it, Peter.
Okay, second by Supervisor McDevitt. So discussion. How about Sarah? Would you like to discuss this?
Sure. So we have sold right around 500 of the town posters that everybody, I believe, has seen and has taken one home for their own town. So we, the funds for those went into, or the revenue from that went into a fund. We're just transferring it to replenish our supply with another 600 posters.
Okay, thank you. Is there, Amanda, does anybody in the boardroom like to make a comment?
No, it doesn't appear so.
Okay, thank you. Okay, yeah, those posters are great. I gotta admit, they are sharp looking. They, I think every town supervisor and every resident should be proud of them. You did a great job, and I just want to thank you personally. I think they're phenomenal. Okay, so I'm going to call the question. All in favor of this motion, resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you very much. Thank you, Supervisor Hogan. Okay, number 5, referral from the Health Services Committee, chaired by Supervisor Frazier. This is the Mental Health Office of Community Services. Rob York is Director, Office of the Community Services. I believe we have Harry. Is Harry on? I know he got on earlier at 9 o'clock. He made a cardinal sin of thinking that we were first, but Harry from the Mental Health Department.
Rob is in the screen there, Doug.
Oh, Rob's in the screen. Thank you. Thank you, Peter.
I'm here.
Oh, okay, super. Oh, there you are. How did I miss you, Rob? I'm going to read the request, and then I'm going to we'll ask for a motion. And then during the discussion portion, please fill us in. Okay, Rob?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. The request is to amend the county budget in the amount of $236,375 to allow for pass-through funding of 100% state aid from the New York State Office of Mental Health for the Behavioral Health Services North to support outpatient mental health and services in Warren County. So first, let's get this to the floor. Do I have a motion to bring this to the floor? Motion by Mr. Bruno, second by Ms. Bramer.
Yes.
You second it? Okay, thank you. Discussion, Mr. York.
Yes, so this is a pool of funding that Behavioral Health Services North was eligible to apply for. It's called Vital Access Provider, VAP funding, and it's offered by the Office of Mental Health to ensure that there are providers, you know, and that these services are available in these types of situations where the hospital made the determination they no longer wanted to provide the service, and we were able to find another provider willing to come in and set up shop to really take over those services. And it's in recognition of, you know, that there's extra expenses involved in that. They have to, you know, lease space and secure the appropriate technology, equipment, et cetera.
Okay, thank you. Now, any questions for Mr. York? Anyone in the boardroom, Amanda?
Amanda had to step out, but no, there's no comments in the boardroom.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Bramer. Okay, thank you, Mr. York. I'll call the question. All in favor of this motion, say aye.
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 Resolution? Okay, opposed? Thank you, carried. Thank you, Mr. York, for participating. We go to number 6, referrals from the Public Safety Committee. It's chaired by Supervisor Diamond. Obviously, it's Sheriff LaFar. Our sheriff has some requests. I'll read them through each one first, and we'll see if we can get a motion to get on the floor. And then, Mr. Diamond, if you want to make any comments, that'd be great. The first one is...
Supervisor Beatty, Chairman
Yes.
Beatty. Can I just move all 3 of those together?
Without objection, do I have a second for that?
I'll second it, Jack Diamond.
Second by Jack Diamond. We'll move 6A, B, and C together. Okay, do I have anyone who want to move this, make a motion to move this? Moved by
Supervisor Bramer.
Moved by Supervisor Bramer, second by Mr. McDivitt. Supervisor McDivitt. Now discussion. Supervisor Diamond, do you want to make any comments about this? These.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A, B, and C, they're just a rollover from the previous years of monies that were awarded that we were able to carry over. That's all.
Okay, seems pretty simplistic. Any other comments or questions? Seeing and hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay. Number 7, referral from Public Works Committee chaired by Mr. Supervisor Conover. Parks, Recreation, and Railroad, Tim Benway is also on the line, I believe. This will be, 7A will be a request to appropriate funds in the amount of $6,000 from budget code A.691.00, deferred revenue into various budget codes within the Parks, Recreation, and Railroad budget to allow for use of Junior Parasol and Charles Wood Foundation grant funding. So do I have someone to move that to the floor?
This is Peter. Mr. Chairman, is there a way to move 7A through 7F?
Let me take a look at that. I'll ask. Amanda's not there. Tammy, is there, can we move 7A through F together?
Yes.
Yes, you can move whatever you'd like together. This is Mary.
Mary, thank you, Mary. That's even better. Okay, so I have, I'd like to move 7A through F together. All in favor of that?
Get a second.
Opposed? Okay, so 7A through F will be moved.
Need a second, Chairman.
Oh, I thought we had a second by Mr. Bruno. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yes, he seconded it. So, all in favor of moving that as 7A through F together?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so we're moving it together as one resolution. Now, let's have a discussion on that. Supervisor Conover or Director Hajos, do you want to make any comments on any one of these? Go ahead, Mr. Conover. Yes? No? Mr. Hajos? Okay.
Mr. Hajos.
Yeah, so the first one is pretty cut and dry. We received 2 grants last year for Parks and Rec, the Pearsall grant as well as the Charles R. Wood grant. So this is just moving the money in based on what the scope of the grant was to make videos, educational videos that can be used for the schools. So that's the Parks and Rec one. As far as the DPW ones for the Palisades.
Kevin, Doug, Mr.
Yes.
Chairman, we voted on this.
Approved.
It's all been approved. I'm sure Kevin's got a lot of other things.
I thought we approved to bring it together as one resolution.
Well,
No.
I will make a motion then that we actually move forward A through F.
we didn't move it forward. And I thought
We moved it forward as one resolution, and then.
Right.
So we do have it on the floor as one resolution, but I thought we had not voted on it yet. We were having discussion portion.
Guys, he, just let us take another motion with them all together. Okay, I'll make a motion to move them all together now forward. We accept them. Adopt.
Okay, so we're moving to get as one resolution. I thought we'd already done that. Okay, so let's have the discussion portion. Go ahead, Kevin.
Sorry, Kevin.
That's okay. So the Palisades Road one that you see, there's four agreements attached to Palisades Road. One of them is for the new contract, which is out to bid. It'll be awarded to the lowest responsive bidder. The next one is a supplemental agreement with Floyd Albert to do the construction inspection and observation for when that project goes into construction. The following one after that is why this was referred to finance, because we were waiting on the supplemental agreement from DOT, which we had not received yet. So now we have that supplemental agreement. And then the next one after that is basically the resolution to increase the capital project based on the supplemental agreement. So that's those four. And then the final one you have on there, I believe, is insurance recovery. And it's just from some guide rail repairs that somebody hit a guide rail in an accident. And that's just the check to receive from that.
Yes, that was 6F. Thank you. Yep. Any questions for Mr. Hajos?
Sure, I have a question, Chairman.
Go ahead. Is that Supervisor Bramer? Go ahead.
Yes, it is. Thank you. Kevin, with respect to some of these ones that we're awarding the new contracts, are all of the dollars available in your budget?
Yes, they are.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions? Tammy, are there any questions from inside the boardroom? None?
No, there's no
Okay.
questions here.
Okay, so I'm going to call the questions. All in favor of passing this resolution 6A through F, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay. All right, number 8, we already did. We did number 8 first, as Amanda asked us to. So now we're on pending items. Is everybody with me? Okay. We requested that the attorney and county attorney's office, who's handling the contract with Bronze Contracting LLC, attend the meeting to provide us with an overview of the county's options in terms of seeking reimbursement for the additional cost of the project monitoring service. Do we have Mary, who's handling that contract?
Yep, so Robert's here to talk about the contract, but before we do that, we highly suggest that you go into executive session because one of the options would be litigation. So you could go into executive session under proposed litigation.
Okay, so do I have a motion to go into executive session to discuss proposed litigation? Okay, Mr. Bruno, do I have a second to go into executive session?
I'll second it, Doug.
Second by Mr. McDevitt. Thank you, Peter. Okay, we are now going into executive session. obviously.
Why don't we clarify when the feed comes back, that the feed cut off before you voted to go into executive session, but the vote to do so was unanimous? How about that?
I can't hear you, Mr. Moore.
Okay, we're on you.
All right, we're back on YouTube.
Chairman Beatty?
Yes.
In the wonderful world of technology, we had a minor tech glitch. Would you please mind calling for a vote to go into executive session on the public record right now?
Yes.
For purposes of our documentation, please.
Would love to. Okay, there's a motion and a second to go into executive session to discuss pending litigation. I'm going to call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, thank you.
Point, it's proposed litigation.
Yeah, that's what I said, proposed litigation.
Okay, thank you.
I've said that 3 times. I should get a gold star.
I thought
Thank you, Tammy. She'll let us know when we're back in, open session.
Did you say Rachel that? Doug, I'm comparing the rules of the board. If Tammy wants to tell you when we're back in open session, that would be great.
Tammy just said we're ready to go. So we're now back in open session. There's no action taken in executive session. So that was our discussion item on potential litigation. No action was taken. Now, Don, are you on? Don Lehman, is there any public comments?
Hello, Chairman Beatty. Let me just double check YouTube. No, nothing on YouTube as of now.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Bramer, second by Mr. Diamond. All approve?
Aye.
Opposed? We are now adjourned, ladies and gentlemen. Houston, we have takeoff.